Hello, listeners and watchers. This is Lisa Russick with the podcast We're All Psychic. And today we have a really, really, really cool guest. We've been talking for like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and I'm already like her best friend. She doesn't know it though. Her name's whatever you want. Whatever you want, I would like to ask you a question. Just kidding, listeners. Her name is Julie. Julie, would you like to say hello?
I'm Julie Wignall, and it is great to be here. And see, between friends, it doesn't matter if we get the names right or wrong, right?
Oh, she is my friend.
As long as we're communicating, that's what's important.
Well, before the podcast listeners and watchers, she had said, you can call me whatever. I said, you do pronounce your name Julie, right? She said, you can call me whatever. So I held on to that for a whole 3 minutes, man. That was tough. Thank you for being patient with me. Anyway, listeners and watchers, Julie is just fabulous, and she is going to answer the question. Do you think we're all psychic?
Yes, I think we are all psychic. And not only do I think we're all psychic, I've always thought that we're all psychic. The question I had was, when do people stop thinking that we're psychic? And I had a mentor that helped give me some perspective on this. I actually have a background in science and went to study marine biology in Australia. Now, between the continent of Australia and Indonesia and Singapore, there are about 25,000 islands, a lot of them uninhabited, a lot of them inhabited by different indigenous people. And there have been a couple of islands that are known for people who have these amazing psychic abilities. And this mentor of mine actually went and he spent a year living amongst the people of one of these islands to say, is this for real? Are these people psychic? They say they're psychic phenomenal. And there's ESP, this extrasensory perception.
Was it psychic or interest? Does he believe in it, or her? Do they believe in it?
He went as a scientist, and the truth is, as a true scientist, baby, you got to be open to everything.
I agree completely.
And as having studied metaphysics and psychology and everything, you start getting into quantum physics. And funny thing, no scientist wants to talk about it. Quantum physics begins explaining
it does
manifestation and psychic abilities and everything. And everything. So here's this mentor, and he said, I'm going with this open mind. I want to know what's happening. And he spent a year and he said, yes, all of these amazing things, from psychic healing to telepathic communication, all these things were happening. But he came away with two really, really interesting observations.
Okay.
Number one, they didn't think it was anything special. Think about it in our communities. We go, here's a medium, this person's psychic. And he said, everybody had these capabilities. Different people, just like we all have our own superpowers. Different people, were better in certain areas than others. Some healers, some in terms of communication. But he came back and he said, yes, first of all, they don't think of this as extraordinary or anything different. This is part of their life. And he said, and I find it very interesting, that they are much more in tune with nature than we are. Well, think about where you get these phenomena in terms of indigenous tribes. I've worked with a lot of Native Americans where there's a lot of things that are going on there. There's a lot more connection with the nature. Yes. We can still do all this, but look at us. We live in cities and trees grow out of cement. And
I know you kind of look like you live in a garden.
I create my own wherever
I love your garden. It's very, very cozy. And I love the herbs. Are those herbs?
It's everything.
It's like rosemary. I love it. It's so
everything. So the other thing that he noticed in terms of these people was their culture. And I think this is the biggest thing. We all have this, and I think we all have this when we're young, but we live in this culture where society begins to tell us no. Oh, you think that you're feeling this? No, you're not feeling this.
It's our family. It's our closest friends. It's not just society. It's some people we love who love us. You're not psychic. Or if
No,
psychic, no one else is. You know,
no.
for
And
me personally, we're all psychic podcasts. I'm not psychic. You do this podcast, you might think so, but that's what I hear a lot. So,
and yes, well, and when it's family,
for
it's like,
people I know, yeah, yeah.
it's like then anybody else can do it except you when it's family. And some of the biggest comedians have said the same thing. My family doesn't think I'm funny at all. It's like it's family.
That's so bad for comedians. That's why they had to work so hard. You're funny.
But it's like, we live in a culture where between friends, people begin to get afraid. And I watch people who I'll say, but you had these experiences, and they'll go, no, it was just my imagination.
Well,
And
that's the
that's
whole point.
what we chalk things up to is we get older and we kind of forget about all of this.
Well,
And
personally, I think the imagination is a very big key to our entire existence.
it's huge.
How could we
And
not live without an imagination? I mean, we would never do anything.
it's huge. And that's why when I went to write my book, I did The Extraordinary Power of Fireflies. And why did I choose fireflies?
Look, listeners.
When you think about a firefly and you think about seeing them as the sun setting, dancing across the field, it takes most people back to childhood memories.
Right.
And you make the connection. It's when everything was magic. It's when you lived in a world that was surrounded with miracles, where not only were they magic, but you were magic until people kind of beat it out of you. And it's like, okay, so let's get rid of all the extraneous junk. And let's get back to we're each fireflies. We each have a light inside of us that today, more than ever, I believe the world really needs us to shine.
I love it.
There are a lot of things that are really dark, and fireflies shine their brightest in the dark. And it's time for everybody to kind of step up to the plate. Most people don't know there are over 2,000 species of fireflies. They all have the capability to shine, but they don't all shine. Sounds like people. We all have that capability. We all have those superhero qualities, the opportunities to do things, but we don't always shine. Fireflies also shine in more than one color. You can find them in blue and green and yellow and in orange.
That's so amazing. I did not know that. Where?
This is a huge family that embraces a lot of diversity. So think of the power when people say, but I'm just one person. How much change can I make? Well, think about that power of that one little beetle that can fit on your finger. And
yeah.
The neat thing is you are in the Tennessee area and you are within a long day's drive to the Smoky Mountains. There are only 2 places in the world that we know of right now that have what they call synchronous fireflies. And this is when the entire forest lights up at night with hundreds of thousands of fireflies. And I promise you, if you have forgotten to believe in fairy tales, this will re-energize you.
What are these places called?
All right. So there's a place in the Smoky Mountains called Elkmont Campground. I'm giving the whole thing away here. And it has become so popular. Now, let me say, so I finished this book. I write this book, People as Fireflies, and huge undertaking. And I finished this book and I want to go celebrate. What do I want to do? I want to go see the synchronous fireflies in Elkmont. So I go to the government website and I find out they have a lottery for this. And the whole concept of my book is that there's not just one way to find your way to the top of the mountain. There's every which way. And it's not just, it's like those people who write those books about
down there, right?
Diet. Yeah. How to do it. You've got to follow my way to diet or it won't work. You have to follow my way to be successful or it won't work. There are tons of ways to get to the top of the mountain.
I agree.
I actually lived out all the messages that I did in my book. I put in, there's a lottery. There's a week period of time where in the Smoky Mountains, they close off at night to visitors when the fireflies come out, and you have to win the lottery. So, of course, what am I thinking? Oh, I wrote wrote a book. I'm going to manifest this. Of course, I'm going to win the library. I keep telling everybody my next book needs to be manifesting for the rest of us. Of course, I'm going to win. The energy is there. Well, they announce the winners and I don't win. Now, coming at this from a background in science, natural history, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I'm just miserable and dejected. But then I went, okay, let's try a different way around. And I actually found a Facebook group filled with photographers.
Oh.
Well, who's out there looking at the Fireflies, photographers? And this one guy said to me, I'm like, I am so depressed. He says, what, you're a biologist, Julie. You think the Fireflies get like a memo that says just this week you can be on display and not the weeks before or the weeks after? He said, find the weeks that they're going to be closed and schedule your trip before or after. And that's exactly what I did. Now, most people too are used to seeing fireflies like at dusk when the sun sets.
Yeah.
So we're walking through the forest and the sun setting, not seeing anything. And then I was watching all the people who had come to see the fireflies and they went, well, I guess they're not out tonight. We're going to leave. And they left before the show began. It was like, you've got to stick it out. You're not allowed to quit. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to regroup, but you're not allowed to give up. So I stayed, and it starts getting dark, but the photographers are still there. And I'm kind of keeping that in my mind. As it's getting darker, all of a sudden the forest is like so dark, I can't see the tips of my fingers. But all of a sudden, I start seeing a light shed, just a little light here and a little light there. And I look down at my feet and there's a species of fireflies called blue ghosts, and they line the floor of the forest. They look like little landing strips. And the next thing I know, when I lift my head up to go from my feet up to the trees, there are fireflies flashing in unison by the hundreds and other fireflies answering them by the hundreds. And the entire forest is sparkling. The only other place that we know that does it to this huge amount is in Malaysia. So you're a lot closer to the Smoky Mountains right now than to Malaysia.
Go to Malaysia, but
well, we could put both on our list.
Let's do it.
Exactly. But it's right there. And it really is magic. And so if that's the power for me of what one firefly can do to transform the world, imagine when we all start shining our lights together in community. There's nothing that we can't do.
I agree. So you do say we're all psychic. So how did you get there?
I think every kid knows this. I think every kid knows.
What was there a point in your life? Were you always kind of into this? Where you said you were a scientist for a long time?
Well, yes, but there were always things that I knew. There were always things that I would listen to people who would say this was their beliefs and this and that. And you have an internal clock and you go, this resonates. No, this doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
And things of knowing. I think about everybody that I've met. When you start having this conversation, you try to find out, have you not had a psychic experience?
Most people on the podcast say you're already doing it. You just have to figure out how. And
most people will say, well, I had this experience. Everybody's got one of those.
Yeah.
And it's time to honor that again. And I actually, on my website today with businesses, and when I'm doing trainings for associations and organizations and businesses, well, they don't call it psychic. We call it intuition. And every successful business person is going to say to you, how did you get there? Oh, it's, part knowledge, part this, part that, and part intuition. Well, duh. What is intuition?
Psychics.
And it's getting back in tune. So when I work with training sessions, I have an exercise that just to show people how unaware we tend to be in our daily lives. If you want to tap in to those abilities and that intuition, you have to start by being aware. And first, you have to start with awareness with yourself, checking in. How do I feel? I've sat there with people and I'll go, you're acting a little bit surly. Are you okay? And someone will stop and go, oh, I have a headache. I didn't even realize
Not
that. I brought that up now. And it's like, how can you not be aware of how you're feeling? So we have to start with ourselves from head to toe. How are we feeling? Check ourselves out. We're feeling in alignment. We're feeling off, feeling emotional. And whatever that is, just welcome it. Just be aware of it. And then the next step is to begin becoming aware of those around us. So I have an exercise I make everybody do called the grocery store exercise.
Oh, I like the grocery store. I spent money there, but I'll go for it.
It's like start practicing at the grocery store.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When you go into the grocery store, what do? I have sent my husband to the grocery store and I'll say, did you see there were like 4 different things on sale, but you just went straight for what was there? I didn't see any of it. Well, if we want to increase that awareness, what do you see around you? What do you see with the people around you? Would you know if there's a woman at the end of the aisle who needs help reaching something from the top shelf? Are you that aware? What do you do with your cart? Do you just leave it in the center of the aisle? And if somebody else has done that, how do you maneuver around that? It's an obstacle. Do you go around it? Do you say, excuse me? Do you push them with your cart? Or do you find another way around? Because there are other ways around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I actually have people that have gone through the training that'll go, if I'm happen to see them in a grocery store, they'll go, there's a firefly, there's a firefly, there's a firefly. These are people who are aware. These are people who are not. These people totally don't know what's going on around them. But as we pick up our awareness of ourselves, our awareness of the world around us, we start increasing our ability and our intuition and their psychic abilities to kind of get feelings for what's going on. And the other thing I encourage people to do too, because they go, well, I don't know if I believe this or not, or I'm thinking and I had this experience, but I'm not sure. And I'll say, ask for a sign.
That's what I do too. And it always comes.
So I wasn't sure about a path that I was taking, a decision I had to make. And I made the decision. I was like, gosh, I would really like a sign to know that this was the right direction to go in. And I was putting on a pair of earrings, and I have a pair of earrings that have seahorses in them, and not real seahorses, but seahorses. And I went, I need a sign. I would like a sign of the seahorse. And I went,
it didn't occur to me of being a real seahorse. Sorry.
And I say that only because I know people have done that.
It took me a minute. I was like, oh, that's hysterical. It got me. I'm sorry.
These seahorses, and I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I go, I could really use to see a sign, the sign of the seahorse. And I'm thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. You live in the middle of the desert. Where are you going to see a seahorse? And I was running errands, and I had to do a stop at the library. Our library has a used bookstore. And I said, I'm just going to poke my head in and see if there's anything there. And I actually keep this on my desk. There was this children's book with this seahorse front and center. So the signs are there when we ask for them, but we also have to be aware enough to pick up the signs, to say, hello, how many signs do I have to tell you? This way, this way.
Yes.
Unaware going, I think I'm going to go this way.
Like, I don't know if that's a sign. And the sky is purple. Purple sky. Yeah. I mean, it could just be that the atmosphere went away or something. That's more likely.
Well, there's a joke because they say that when you really have a desire, that the universe conspires to make it work, that we all have universal helpers, angels all around. And there's a joke where you have the single woman who goes, I just want a guy to see me and to be a friend and this, and, to have that healthy relationship. And there's that guardian angel at the side going, I gave you Tom, but you said you just wanted to be in the friend zone. You have to pay attention. You got to listen. So we have a joke when people are just too unaware. It's like whoever their guardian angels are, universal helpers, there's got to be a smoke room for them. We're all hanging out. They're smoking cigarettes and they're hanging out at the bar.
I got nothing to do. I can't sleep. I'm waiting for her to ask me to do something.
Another bourbon, please.
She doesn't remember.
Yeah. She said she wanted a new job. I sent it to her. She said, no, it's got to be fake. I can't apply for it.
It's got to be fake.
Another wild turkey neat, please. And that's just light up another smoke.
So me. I'm sorry. That's so me. That's why one reason I'm cracking. I just don't notice. Now, when I ask for one, I will look around, but I'm not noticing a gosh darn thing. I do see hawks and big birds, but
well, there you go.
And they're saying, look for the signs, is what I figured out on a podcast recently. Someone
and things, a lot of times things come really slow. I'll tell you,
for me,
I worked with zoos, aquariums, and exotic animals, and I did work with an elephant.
Wow.
And I love elephants, love aquatic animals, love everything. And they brought some turkeys into the elephant enclosure.
Mm.
And I thought, why turkeys? And they said, well, it's just something that she'll just interact with on her own. She's older. We can't really introduce her to a younger elephant. But we had this problem because I used to have to talk to the press a lot, and they would come in, and this one turkey would follow me around wherever I came in, and he would scream and gobble this at the top of his lungs. And I'd go, this thing is just obnoxious. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. So I was doing a tour one day, and I was bringing people through, and I said, okay, so I'm going to talk really loud before we go in because this turkey usually drowns me out. I had a man.
How many people say that at work?
I had a man on my tour who was a shaman from, we have a lot of native tribes in the South. And he looked at me and he said, you shouldn't speak badly of the turkey. Turkeys respond to people who have the capability to become shamans, like a shaman in training. So that turkey was trying to tell something to you. And I went, well, I'm honored, right? And don't you know, the turkey never talked to me again. It's like,
good chance.
Sign was there. We let you know.
Did you ever figure out what he was trying to tell you? Or maybe it was just for that one person to tell you that.
Well, you know what? It was a good reminder to say sometimes the signs are there and we're looking at them through the wrong lens. And
what's interesting is sometimes stuff like that does happen. And when you find out it's a sign and it stops, that's even more proof it was a sign. You know
exactly. What yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I've had that happen with mediumship. I'll tell someone your father leaves the coffee pot spilling, dripping, and messing up. And they'll say, that does happen. It drives me crazy. And it's like, that's him. And then the next, 3 or 4 weeks later, that hasn't happened since. Are you sure? And I was like, well, think about it.
And that's what we used to say, what must not have been real.
Yeah.
That becomes.
If they come back to me, then I can kind of bring them back around to remembering. But if they might, or they might not. They might take it as be like, oh, this is my gesture, and just leave it. And even after it stopped, they'll just leave a stain.
And sometimes I think we experience these things just to remind us, to remind us that we're magic. I used to joke, I've had all throughout my life different dreams of the future. And I won't know that I dreamt this. I'll be in a situation and I'll go, oh my gosh, I remember this. And I know exactly what this person's going to say next, or this or that. But I've always made fun of it because it's never anything important.
Right.
It's oh my gosh, I'm standing in that grocery store line and the woman behind me, I remember this. I feel this. I had a dream about this, and she's going to say she needs eggs. And sure enough, she'll say, I need eggs. And I'll go, you know what? I am not predicting earthquakes, or volcanoes, or you're going to get married, or no, but I knew that she was going to have to go get eggs. And sometimes I think that we have those experiences just as a wink, as a reminder that, hey, you are magic. What you want to do with this is up to you.
I agree with you. It's something that I think religions get in the way of sometimes, of people allowing people to think that way. Not all religions in the South is like that sometimes, from where I'm from, as listeners know. And listeners, she used to live when she grew up, or you were raised or grew up around the South, kind of South, mid South.
Yeah, people say to me, oh, where's your accent from? And I was like, if you listen really closely, you can hear, you'll pick up a Midwestern.
You're a little bit of West. I love that. I love that accent. That is one of my favorite.
Midwestern twang there.
Really sweet. It's really sweet. Yeah, it is. It's very sweet. It's kind of neat. Some people have a really thick one. You can't even understand them. Yeah. So people say that when they come to the South too. With the Southerners, like what?
But It's really interesting when you start traveling in terms of religions and how they're taken in
Yeah.
different ways.
Yeah.
Having worked with Native American tribes, you expect indigenous religions. A lot of them are Catholic, but
Totally.
boy, they celebrate Catholicism's completely different than anything like I grew up with. And you start going to Central and South America, and there's a huge belief in the supernatural
Yes.
and the spirits. And it's like they're just interpreting this different. But, when we get bigger, and I always talk about it's transcending all that to get into a bigger place. And that's where we get into the crazies of quantum physics, this energy field that's there. And all quantum physics is really doing
Explain.
it's explaining what Buddhism taught us
Yes, it is.
to go. How do you treat others? The answer is there are no others. We're all connected. We're all the same. And that is the whole concept of everything that I work for, to say, you know what? There's a lot that's really tough that's going on in the world today. And we need fireflies. We need people who are shining their light brighter. We need them to transcend and get past the arguments, get past the politics, get past the religions, get past the groups, to start meeting in a new field where we see each other one by one and build up that community, to say that we're all different and we embrace those differences, because that's what makes us stronger.
And it makes everything interesting that we're all different.
Yes.
I want everyone to be
So,
like me. Gosh, nobody would ever shut up.
I would drive myself crazy if there were two of me.
Oh, me too.
But
Gosh, just be quiet for a minute. No, you be quiet.
in writing the book that I wrote, I started with, because I have a very unconventional background that has jumped to all kinds of different careers, and everything from business to international affairs to environmental conservation, working with animals, to being a television producer.
Did you manifest all this stuff? Did you always work with the energy, or is this just kind of
always? I just didn't know what it was. And like I said, sometimes you still get out of alignment, where it's like that's where we get that manifesting for the rest of us. It takes time. And sometimes we don't realize that those detours that we're on are part of our path.
We are. And they teach us, they give us more stuff to learn and teach other people. And I just want to ask, so the listeners and watchers, just so they understand exactly what you mean by fireflies, go into the book. What's the name of the book again?
The name of the book is The Extraordinary Power of Fireflies: How to Shine Your Light Brighter and Transform the World. And the concept is, a firefly I define as a person, any individual who sees beyond what is to what can be, and takes action to create a better reality. And that can be within your home, that could be within a community, that can be on a world stage, it can be on any level
too, right?
You need it all.
If you make
need it all.
Happier, healthier, the world gets better. Happier, healthier.
Yes, and when you're happy, the world gets happy.
Yeah.
I've had a crazy background. So what I did, I thought, people will read this and go, okay, so she could do all this craziness, but what about the rest of us? So I've included 20 remarkable individuals from around the world that are in every field you can imagine, from the arts to science, are dealing with things completely differently, are working at being authentic, and are all fireflies. And I have to take, from the day that I started dealing with these people to today, when I need inspiration, I still go back and I read their stories and I go, yes, it is so good to know that I'm sharing this planet with these people who are just doing amazing, amazing things. And have taken things that are difficult, those detours, and said,
I'm still going on my path, right?
This is right. This isn't right. I have to make things better. I have to do better things. And sometimes they do it through arts, and sometimes they do it through healthcare, but they're all over the world. And one is really more special than the next. So it's.
And I have two things I would like to comment on. First of all, when you were talking about the very beginning, when you were describing fireflies in your book, and you were talking about that magical place, right before then, I was like, wouldn't it be something if, like, the metaphor, for fireflies in this, what if, fireflies just kind of blink, they wink, they don't usually just stay on. So it's kind of like our intuition right now in our culture.
Yes, and not only that, but all the people who fight and they work so hard. Da, 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 da. Fireflies use a very cold light. You burn and you burn out really quickly.
Yeah.
Guys use a really cool light. So yes, it comes and goes, just like
Interesting, just like that. And there's another thing about that I thought was very cool. Think just like something you kind of said it. Maybe I wasn't sure if you said it exactly, but I was thinking like if everybody is a firefly, if we're all psychic, everybody's a firefly. We're all fireflies. So what if all of us lit up at the same time? I figured you'd said that at some point in your book. But
yes.
I mean, what if all of us lit up at the same time? There'd be no darkness. I mean, a firefly is light's not, it's bright, but it's not that bright. But all of us at the same time, just like like that place you were talking about, all
Exactly
of us
right.
like using our energy and amping it up and just feeling that the whole planet, I can only imagine just for that blink of a wink of a firefly sparkle, you know?
Yes.
I mean, that would be beautiful. I love that you
And
call
to keep
it.
it pulsing, we forget we live on a living planet. There's an energy
Yeah.
to it and it breathes and we're a part of that energy and we breathe. And part of that flashing on and off too is just part of the pulse of reminding
Everybody
us,
else needs some stuff to do. Like the body has
yeah,
to
that
do body
we're
things, and
yeah,
the brain has to do the brain things, and then we gotta shine some light with our energy. I
that
love
that's
that metaphor. I have never heard a metaphor for psychic or energy work or anything like that I have loved as much as Firefly. The
uh,
Fireflies that you described. I'm getting that book. I'm getting that book. And that book right after this podcast is over. But I do want to ask you, where can the listeners find out about you? Get your book. I mean, I
okay, straight through Amazon. Any bookstore can order it. But if you go to my website, which is extraordinaryfireflies.com, that's all you have to remember.
I'll put that
There
in.
is a free download on there that's called Flying Lessons for Fireflies. And it's just 5 easy exercises just to get you started, to get you shining brighter. And what it does is I build up from that an email list where once a week, I send out some note of inspiration or encouragement because I think that we all need that encouragement to keep moving. And just to say, yeah, here are your good thoughts for the week. Here's something just to keep in mind for self-care,
What about your newsletter? Have you signed up for your newsletter? Oh, I will sign up for that. That's definitely
just to encourage people to keep going. And so with that, like I said, it's the free Flying Lessons for Fireflies. It's a free download, and then you automatically get just once a week. Nobody needs a ton of stuff, I think, in their email boxes, but everybody needs just that small reminder
I love that. Yeah, I would
you're
dig that.
special and the world needs you, and we need you just the way that you are. We need you imperfect. We need you striving. We live in a culture and society where everybody is so achievement oriented.
But what do they achieve? Everyone's idea of achievement and perfection is different. So how can you
It's
achieve anything?
completely different. And we always say, oh, you have to enjoy the journey. It's the journey, not the destination. But we don't really seem to understand what the heck that means. Once we hit the top of a mountain and we've
What's a
achieved,
journey is just like sitting on a beach.
yeah, but when we hit that achievement, what do? We sit at the top of the mountain and we go, oh, remember that time and remember this time when we were on the journey. And we sit on the top of the mountain and we pat ourselves on the back for about 20 seconds and we go, oh, but there's another mountain. Let's go start for that achievement.
I love that. Yeah.
We're always going to be moving. So
And when you think about when you think of like an epic story like the Lord of the Rings and the movies, for example, and not the books, but the movies, that epic, the 3 hour per movie thing. I mean, I had a point there. Wait, I do this sometimes. I go off the rail. I had a co-host for a long time who used to reel me back in. What were we just talking about? It does.
we're looking in terms of achievements, and that was their whole thing was for the achievement. But what happens after the achievement? It was like, what are we going to do with the ring? And so you do that, and then what's next?
Yeah. Man, I can't remember. It just went in and out. Julie, my listeners are used to it. They're like, oh, Lisa, just forget another thing.
But it's
It
always
probably wasn't important.
But I think there should always be another journey. There's, we don't just stop and say, oh yeah, happily ever after. Happily ever after is going on the next journey.
It really is. And it's kind of like a lot of times, people are trying to get to a summit or get to a place, and when you sit on top of that, I was getting at with the Lord of the Rings is when you think about that long ass movie, 3 hours, director's cut, 9-10 hour movie. I think it's one movie. I will watch it that way too. And I love that. But like in that whole thing with the end, when you talk about that movie to other people, you're not talking about the end.
No, you're talking about the adventures.
Part where this happened in the journey and the part where that happened in the journey. And it's the most unexpected stuff that's really weird and crazy and it moved the plot along that you talk about. That's exactly. Right?
Yeah. Well, because that's why we're here. That's what I think makes life worth living. Those are the happiness moments.
Yes, the happiness moments, especially coming through exercises into it.
Yes, one of my exercises in flying lessons for Fireflies is what makes you happy. A number of years ago, I worked with what they called at-risk kids that were in a lot of trouble. These were 15, 16-year-old boys that had done everything bad you can imagine.
You'd be so amazing.
These were some of the brightest kids. And we did a lot of work. We did a lot of work in nature. And after a couple of days, I said to them, because you're filled with so much angst and anger, and I understand this. So if I were your fairy godmother, and I come knock on your door and say, your wish is my command, what would you want? What would make you happy? And I'm expecting 15, 16-year-old boys. I'm expecting, I need $1 million. I need to be a famous rap star and this and that. And they all just looked at me with blank stares. And one of the kids said, no one asks us that. No one asks us what makes us happy. Try this with another adult. Hey, what really makes you happy? And they just kind of, I don't know, because we don't stop and we don't think about it. And over the next couple of days, they started giving me cues into what makes them happy. One kid said, what really makes me happy is Sunday mornings, I get up with my dad and we make pancakes for the family. Someone else said, I love taking my dog out for walks. It turns out what really tends to make us happy, these are connecting with other people. These are those moments along the way that we forget to take advantage of and enjoy because we're so busy trying to reach that achievement top of the summit. And when we get to the top of the summit, if we've had those are the moments we talk about. Connecting with everybody and the failures that we had. And do you remember?
Really talk about those. We talk about our successes usually.
Yeah. 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 And they do. And they make for great conversation at cocktail parties.
Especially cocktail parties where you forget people.
People are afraid of failing, and that's what pulls them back. And that's a big reason, why don't people shine their light? Because we start as we're kids, we think that we can do anything, and we know that we're magic, and we know that we're psychic.
Right.
And we know what we want to do. Well, some kids do. I wasn't one of those kids. But
I wanted to be a cat, and I couldn't do it.
Well, I had a daughter that wanted to be a Pokemon trainer. So it's maybe you can. But, people would say, I want to be a ballerina.
I had a stepson who wanted to be a Pokemon trainer.
There you go. Well, today you kind of can be with virtual reality. But, we'll go, I want to be a dancer. I want to be an actress. I want to be an artist. And then all of a sudden we hit our teenage years and we start hearing from teachers and adults and counselors, well, you need to start thinking about how you're really going to make an income. And that's not really a way for a future. And they cut down every dream that we have. So we begin to record that we're not good enough, that we're not deserving. Who am I to think that I could actually do something that's really going to make me happy? That I can follow this path. And then there's a huge fear when we say, this is what I really want to do. I'm going to embark on this path. And we're terrified because we're afraid to fail. Yeah. And we hear these stories of all these successful people. What we don't talk about enough is all the failures that it took them to get where they are. And in terms of creating a better world, I want to create a world where it's like, it's okay to say, I did this, and oh my gosh, I really mucked up. This was not the direction
I going to learn from that. If you think about it, someone's going to learn. You learned already, hopefully. And I learned already. Yes. But I used to do it 3 times to mess up. I have to mess up at least 3 times for it.
A lot of us do. And, in Jungian psychology, they talk about the hero's journey, and it's like, it takes the call. It's the 3 times the call. You have to get that 3 times. It's like, okay, she's finally listening this time. It takes a while.
Yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to comment on about the Fireflies before. Well, I'm going to thank my sponsor, Everclear, and then I'll tell you, because you'll just love it. It's just something beautiful. Beautiful. But I do want to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice and more advice. Maybe you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve from an advisor on Everclear. And I am an advisor on Everclear under the name Lisa P. or Lisa Russick. We're changing my name right now. It's in the process. Someday I'll be Lisa Russick soon, or I might be right now when you're watching this 5 years from now. I should be by then, right? Yeah. But anyway, what I wanted to say before I ask you for some advice for our listeners is that your fingernails, every time you move, I keep thinking they're fireflies.
They are fireflies.
I think they're fireflies. Your finger, look at them. Listeners are watching.
Fireflies.
They're fireflies. Look at them. They're beautiful. They're beautiful fireflies, and they're flittering around your face and your clothes. It's like, I loved it. I just wanted to say that. Listeners, if you're hearing this at the end and you liked it, I know you loved this podcast. Go back and watch it with her nails. It'll be on YouTube and Spotify. And let's take some advice you might ask our Firefly listeners out there. How about we have some listeners? Maybe there's some Fireflies listening who they don't know what they want, and they do know they want love, the right love. They do know they want to be able to eat and have shelter, and they do know they want to have a job that pays for everything, or someone else does and takes care of them. They want, but they don't really believe they're special. I mean, what kind of advice would you give that Firefly to let them know that they are special? Something, anyone, who's listening, and they know they got that light, but they just don't know.
All right,
it's real.
Anybody who's listening, there are a lot of people who do these exercises and say, oh, let's think about if you were told that you only had like a week to live, like what would you do? And I hate those exercises because I would be like deer in headlights. I would be just sitting there frozen going, I don't know. But I say, let's flip the switch. Let's turn it around. Every single person who's here, I believe we chose to be here. We chose to be here at this time. And when we were small, and even before we were born, you start thinking not where you go when you die. Where were we before as part of a bigger consciousness? We made some commitments to what we want to do in this life and what we want to accomplish. And what those things may be is learning how to find a healthy relationship, learning what love really is about, finding ways so that you can take care of yourself, following your heart or your dreams, whatever that is. We made these commitments to ourselves and to the world, and the world needs us. That's that standing up to shine your light as bright as you can. The world is waiting. Yeah. And if that doesn't make you special, I worked in a writer's group where a friend wrote, her working title for her book was All God's Children Got Problems. And it's like, yeah, we all do. And nobody gets out of childhood unscathed. Yeah. You got to get to the point where you go, yes, we all have childhood traumas, and we all spend our adult years trying to figure out those childhood traumas, and that's fine, and keep doing it. And there's not a time limit on how long it takes, but you can't let it stand in your way from being happy. I'm the first person to tell people I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. And what it did was, because with all of those pains and those traumas, there's always gifts that come with it. So talk about psychic abilities. I can pick out other dysfunctional people and families wherever I am. Those are the things that we learn. We all have junk that we carry with us. and it's there and acknowledge it.
Some fancy luggage because I'm a tourist. My baggage is like, Gucci. Is that a brand of bag? I don't know. I should. I'm a tourist, but like a big Gucci baggage. I got lots of nice luggage, and so I got a lot too. I've got some guy pulling another little dolly full of it, but I don't look at it anymore. I just put it in the closet where I end up.
And think about it. That's your shadow. That's your shadow.
If I need to, I'll sort through it when I'm in the mood and ready.
But that's our darkness. But remember, we work with that darkness because that's where we shine our brightest.
Learn.
Everything was super bright. You wouldn't even notice the fireflies. So it's those dark shadows that we all carry around that provide the backdrop that let us shine all the brighter.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's well said. And I would like to say thank you so much, Julie, for being on this podcast. I've just loved this conversation so freaking much. I would love for you to come back anytime if you want to. And I'm getting that book. Listeners, get that book. Watchers, get that book. And again, thank you. And anything else you'd like to say to the listeners?
Yeah, just if nothing else, go check the freebie. You've got absolutely nothing. The freebie, nothing to lose. I live by the motto that there should always be something extra because you are special. Everybody's special. Everybody deserves something extra because they're special. There should always be something extra. There should always be one more story, and there should always be cookies.
And there should always be you, Julie, because you are just wonderful. You are like the treat of this day for me. I mean, you just have such a great and your energy is so good. I don't feel like you would ever hurt a firefly.
Which is why we've got to encourage more to shine brighter because we need more fireflies.
We need more fireflies, please, listeners and watchers. We love you and have a great time wherever you may be. Peace. Bye.